Most people are not living, they are being lived. Thoughts not their own, fears inherited, beliefs implanted like a virus passed down generations. But there are a few, very few, who rise above this programming and take the terrifying, liberating responsibility of designing their own mind. Nikola Tesla was one of them. He didn't just invent machines, he invented a mental architecture that defied the very reality most people blindly accept. While others were imprisoned by the chaos of their surroundings, Tesla tuned himself into frequencies the average man could never hear. And that wasn't an accident. It was the result of conscious reprogramming, intentional, radical, and extreme. Tesla understood one thing better than most. The brain is a receiver. It picks up signals from beyond the five senses. It absorbs the noise of society, the screams of conformity, and the whispers of genius. But here's the brutal truth. If you do not train your mind, it will be trained for you. Schools, media, religion, the opinions of the masses, they'll sculpt your thoughts into a safe little cage. But Tesla broke the cage. He shattered the narrative. He chose to suffer in isolation rather than thrive in delusion. He was mocked, betrayed, forgotten, but never broken. Because the laboratory he built wasn't just in Colorado Springs, it was in his own head. Long before mindset became a buzzword, Tesla was operating on a level so mentally refined, so inwardly developed, that it frightened those who lived in imitation. He once said, "My brain is only a receiver." In the universe, there is a core from which we obtain knowledge, strength, and inspiration. That quote wasn't metaphorical, it was literal. Tesla trained his mind to detach from conventional thinking. He believed the key to intelligence wasn't accumulation, but resonance. Align your thoughts with a higher vibration, and new ideas will appear fully formed, like bolts of divine inspiration. And he lived this truth. His inventions came to him in flashes. His blueprints were formed in his imagination before they ever touched paper. The man was not guessing, he was tuning in. Do you understand what that means? Tesla didn't come up with ideas, he received them. But to receive, you must silence the static. And that's where most people fail. Their minds are too crowded, too noisy, too reactionary. They're scrolling when they should be meditating. They're reacting when they should be observing. They're begging the world to give them meaning instead of generating it from within. But Tesla, he chose solitude. He chose obsession. He chose madness over mediocrity. And in doing so, he reprogrammed his mind into a tool so sharp, so precise, that it could predict technologies a century ahead of his time. Let's be honest, most people couldn't last a day with Tesla's mind. The same mind that once visualized entire machines to the microscopic detail without a single error. A mind that played chess with the future and beat it over and over again. You think that comes from luck? Number that comes from mental mastery, from years of choosing thought over comfort, depth over popularity, clarity over distraction. When others sought validation, Tesla sought vibration. He knew the world wouldn't understand him. He accepted that being misunderstood was the tax you pay for genius, and he paid in full. If you want to understand how Tesla reprogrammed his mind, you must first understand what he rejected. He rejected groupthink. He rejected superficial applause. He rejected the easy path, the commercial path, the path of ego. He once walked out of a lucrative job with Thomas Edison over principle, over integrity, over a broken promise. That wasn't just pride, it was philosophy. Tesla's mind obeyed one master, truth. Not comfort, not consensus, truth. And because of that, he suffered. But in that suffering, he found transcendence. Every great mind must wrestle with its demons. Tesla's were severe: hallucinations, compulsive behaviors, social alienation. But here's the difference. He turned those into fuel. While others were swallowed by their afflictions, Tesla absorbed them, transmuted them, and channeled them into invention. He didn't run from his mind's extremes. He harnessed them. That's not madness. That's alchemy. Real alchemy. Turning mental chaos into creative gold. The world called him crazy. You will be too if you start thinking for yourself. If you stop parroting the acceptable and start speaking the authentic, the mob will turn on you. That's the price of originality. But Tesla didn't flinch. He was too focused. His mind wasn't built to please, it was built to pioneer. And that is the essence of reprogramming. You stop letting fear write your code. Tesla once claimed he could go days without sleep, deep in thought, working through solutions in a trance-like state. And science today is only now catching up to what he intuitively knew, that the brain, when in certain frequencies, can achieve near superhuman cognition. But Tesla didn't wait for peer-reviewed journals. He trusted his mind because he trained it like a warrior trains for war. While others ran from silence, he ran toward it, because in silence, the mind speaks. But only to those who are brave enough to listen. If you want to reprogram your mind like Tesla, start here. Eliminate the unnecessary. Tesla lived simply. He believed the energy you spend on trivial things is energy stolen from your purpose. He wore the same clothes, ate the same meals, repeated the same walks, not because he was boring, but because his mind was elsewhere, focused, sharp, directed. You cannot create symphonies if your mind is cluttered with noise. You cannot receive genius if you're addicted to distraction. Tesla cultivated stillness. He stared into the sun for inspiration. He walked alone for hours. He practiced visualization so vividly he didn't need prototypes. In fact, he once said, "I do not rush into actual work. When I get a new idea, I start at once building it up in my imagination." That level of mental power doesn't come from hoping. It comes from habit, from discipline, from sacrifice. And here's where most people fail. They want Tesla's brilliance without Tesla's burdens. They want the light without the heat. But you can't hack this. You must become this. Tesla was forged by obsession. He didn't chase balance. He chased destiny. And destiny does not reward the lukewarm. He lived his philosophy to the very end. Alone, misunderstood, and broke, but undefeated. He didn't sell out. He didn't compromise. And while the world eventually caught up to his ideas, it never caught up to his spirit. That's what reprogramming really is. It's not positive thinking. It's not visualization alone. It's war. A war against every lie you've ever believed. A war against the soft voice of mediocrity inside your head telling you to settle. Tesla declared war on that voice, and he won. If you study Tesla's life closely, you'll realize something startling. The man never chased money. Not really. He wasn't driven by the desperation to accumulate. He was driven by the hunger to understand. When others saw dollar signs, he saw patterns, frequencies, dimensions. And that's what separates the programmed from the programmer. The programmed man trades his energy for cash. The programmer creates systems so powerful that money eventually becomes a byproduct. Tesla understood this. He said, "Money does not represent such a value as men have placed upon it. All my money has been invested into experiments with which I have made new discoveries." Now, ask yourself, could you say the same? Could you sacrifice temporary pleasure for eternal purpose? That's the first reprogramming checkpoint, delayed gratification. If you cannot delay the dopamine, you are a slave to your impulses. And Tesla refused to be a slave. He mastered his mind by mastering his desires. No excessive food, no shallow relationships, no mindless entertainment. He consumed only what sharpened his clarity, elevated his spirit, or intensified his focus. While others numbed themselves with distraction, Tesla dove deeper into isolation. Not to escape the world, but to decode it. But let's get something straight. This wasn't easy. It's not supposed to be. Reprogramming your mind is a violent act against everything that made you weak. It's not affirmations in the mirror or journaling in pretty notebooks. It's nights you can't sleep because your old identity is dying and your new one hasn't formed yet. Tesla didn't just think positive. He thought deeper. He interrogated every belief until it either stood strong or collapsed. He rebuilt his framework through logic, experimentation, and intuition. And if it didn't serve the mission, it was eliminated. That's what you must do. Let's talk about belief. Tesla's belief in his vision bordered on delusional. He visualized a wireless world when wires were still being installed. He imagined free energy when empires were built on meter readings, and he never once doubted it. He said, "The present is theirs. The future, for which I really worked, is mine." That's the mindset. He wasn't working for applause. He was working for prophecy. You want to reprogram your mind? Start by breaking up with short-term validation. Stop looking for people to understand you. Most can't even understand themselves. Why would they understand a vision so far ahead of their timeline? Tesla played the long game. He made peace with being alone. And make no mistake, he was. He died in a hotel room with unpaid bills and no fanfare. But do you know what he left behind? The blueprint of the modern world. Wireless transmission, AC power, robotics, radio, remote control. It was all Tesla. He wasn't chasing legacy. He was living alignment. And when you live in alignment, the results speak centuries after your voice goes silent. So, how did he train this mind? Through imagination. But not the childish kind. Tesla's imagination was rigorous, disciplined, instrumental. He could construct a motor in his mind, run it for weeks, and then inspect the wear patterns without ever touching a tool. That level of precision comes from complete mental immersion. It's not enough to dream. You must live in the dream until it feels more real than the world around you. That's what Tesla did. His thoughts weren't fantasies. They were rehearsals. Here's a hard truth. Most people are too lazy to imagine. Their minds have been hijacked by consumerism. They don't imagine. They imitate. They don't think. They scroll. They don't create. They replicate. But Tesla, he turned his imagination into a superpower. He built an inner world so detailed, so functional, that reality had no choice but to catch up. That's the secret. Live in the frequency of what you want, until the external has no option but to align. But to do this, you need solitude. Tesla's mind didn't grow in crowds. It grew in silence, long walks, deep thought, total isolation. He once said, "Be alone. That is the secret of invention. Be alone. That is when ideas are born." Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to disconnect long enough to hear yourself think? Most people are terrified of silence because silence exposes the truth. But Tesla embraced it. He hunted it, because only in silence do the highest frequencies reveal themselves. Reprogramming means rechoosing your focus, rechoosing your values, rechoosing your identity. And Tesla did this relentlessly. He wasn't interested in being liked. He was interested in being accurate. While the world obsessed over status and gossip, Tesla obsessed over energy, vibration, and the secrets of the universe. That's what focus looks like, radical exclusion. He said no to almost everything so he could say yes to genius. He trained his memory through repetition. He exercised his willpower through celibacy. He sharpened his intuition through obsession. And this wasn't performative, it was spiritual. Tesla saw himself not just as a man, but as a conduit, a bridge between worlds, between what was and what could be. And if you want to reach that level, you must stop identifying as a victim and start living as a vessel. You are not here to react to life. You are here to transmit it. Tesla didn't whine when Edison tried to sabotage him. He didn't beg for respect when financiers turned on him. He didn't complain when the public forgot him. He kept going because the mission was bigger than the man. That's the mindset. If your motivation dies every time someone rejects you, you're not on a mission. You're on an ego trip. Tesla buried his ego a long time ago. That's why his ideas still live. And let's talk about energy. Tesla believed everything was energy, frequency, and vibration. He believed your thoughts were not just invisible whispers. They were waves that shaped reality. He once said, "If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration." That's not poetry. That's physics. You are a broadcasting station. Whatever you tune into mentally, you begin to experience physically. So, what are you broadcasting? Doubt, fear, excuses, or are you transmitting power, vision, clarity? Tesla reprogrammed his mind by changing his frequency. He refused to live on the wavelength of mediocrity. That meant cutting people off. That meant walking alone. That meant being misunderstood, misquoted, and mistreated. But it also meant creating from a place few ever reach. He didn't fight the current. He built his own. He saw inventions before they existed. He predicted satellites, smartphones, artificial intelligence, decades before the technology caught up. How? Because he wasn't guessing. He was channeling. And when your mind is clean enough, still enough, tuned enough, you can do the same. You don't need to become Tesla, but you must become ruthless with your focus like he was. You must become immune to distraction like he was. You must become intolerant of mediocrity like he was. Most people treat their mind like a garbage bin. Tesla treated his like a temple. What enters your mind becomes your destiny. That's not motivational fluff. That's the law. Garbage in, garbage out. Genius in, genius out. Tesla guarded his input like a samurai guards his blade. He knew that what you allow shapes what you're able to create. Are you starting to understand now? Tesla wasn't just a genius. He was a mental architect. He didn't just think differently. He thought deliberately. And that difference is everything, because the quality of your life will never exceed the quality of your thinking. Tesla's thinking was pristine, painful, and powerful. And yours can be too, if you're willing to reprogram. Reprogramming begins with self-respect. Tesla didn't tolerate environments that insulted his intelligence. He didn't linger in rooms where mediocrity was normalized. He didn't participate in conversations that revolved around the trivial and the temporary. That's not arrogance. That's clarity. Most people confuse humility with self-erasure. Tesla never bowed to ignorance. He remained humble to the universe, not to the foolishness of society. And that distinction matters. If you lower your frequency just to fit in, you are not being kind. You are being complicit in your own decline. Tesla understood this deeply. That's why he didn't dilute his ideas for public approval. He didn't dumb down his vision to be more digestible. He respected his work too much to water it down. The result? He was mocked, resisted, and dismissed. Until time did what critics couldn't, it proved him right. That's how the universe rewards mental clarity. You stay faithful to the higher signal, even when everyone else calls you crazy, especially when they call you crazy. So many today want to change the world, but they haven't even cleaned up their own mind. Tesla knew the truth. You cannot create a new world from a polluted mind. So he cleaned house, mental house. He removed everything that wasn't in alignment with the energy he was tuning into. He wasn't building a brand. He was building a bridge between consciousness and manifestation. That's what every great inventor, artist, or revolutionary ultimately does. They become the vessel of a new frequency. You want to know what Tesla did that was different? He made the invisible visible. He gave shape to energy. That's real manifestation. Not vision boards, but vision discipline, thinking until your thoughts crystallize into form. Tesla visualized his inventions so precisely that engineers later admitted they couldn't improve on his designs. They weren't building, they were following. They weren't creating, they were catching up. Ask yourself, are you living ahead of your time or behind your potential? Tesla lived in the future and pulled it into the present. That's what great minds do. They don't wait for permission. They don't wait for technology to get there. They force the world to evolve by refusing to lower their own mental standard. That's what reprogramming looks like, not becoming better than others, but becoming more aligned with who you were born to be. Let's talk obsession. That word scares people. But Tesla embraced it. He was obsessed with solving problems, with decoding nature, with understanding the mysteries of energy and matter. He didn't try to be balanced. He tried to be consumed. And here's the truth you won't hear in self-help books. You don't change your life through balance. You change it through obsession. Not shallow addiction to results, but deep spiritual obsession with becoming the vessel of something higher. Tesla worked through storms, literal storms. He once conducted experiments in lightning-heavy weather, pushing the boundaries of electromagnetism while the world outside shook with thunder. That wasn't madness. That was faith. Faith in his process. Faith in his vision. Faith in the whispers his imagination kept revealing. While most people retreat at the first sign of chaos, Tesla leaned in. He saw storms not as destruction, but as opportunity. What if you trained your mind to do the same? Most people run from discomfort. Tesla ran toward it because he knew discomfort wasn't the enemy, distraction was. And if you want Tesla-level clarity, you need to become a disciple of focus. That means not just deleting apps, but deleting the parts of your identity that thrive on noise. Tesla didn't just abstain from pleasure, he starved his lower instincts to feed his higher ones. His mind was clear because his mission was pure. Tesla didn't live a dual life. He didn't clock in and out of genius. He was always on, always thinking, always tuning. That's the power of internal reprogramming. It becomes who you are, not just what you do. It changes the frequency of your thoughts, the quality of your emotions, the intensity of your will. It redefines your relationship with time, with suffering, with the unknown. Tesla didn't fear failure. He feared wasted potential. And that's the mindset that creates real legacy. Think of what that means. While others were competing, Tesla was creating. While others were selling, Tesla was serving. While others were building empires, Tesla was building the future. And the world eventually bowed to his mind, not because he demanded it, but because his frequency could not be ignored forever. But let's not romanticize the pain. Tesla suffered deeply. He had moments of despair, breakdown, loneliness that cracked the soul. But here's the key. He didn't let the suffering stop him. He transmuted it. He didn't curse the isolation. He turned it into innovation. He didn't numb his heartbreak. He redirected that pain into precision. You see, reprogramming doesn't mean you stop hurting. It means you stop running. You face the chaos and make it part of your rhythm. Tesla once said, "The day science begins to study non-physical phenomena, it will make more progress in 1 decade than in all the previous centuries of its existence." That wasn't just a statement. It was a warning. The mind is the final frontier. Not space, not the oceans, not AI. The mind. And Tesla was already exploring it before neuroscience had vocabulary for what he was doing. He understood the power of the subconscious, that thoughts repeated become patterns, and patterns become reality. He didn't waste time complaining about the world. He created new ones. He didn't argue with limitations. He ignored them. That's reprogramming, not negotiating with doubt, but starving it. Not managing fear, but outgrowing it. Most of you have no idea what you're capable of because you've never lived beyond your programming. You still think thoughts that aren't yours. You still chase goals that were sold to you. You still sabotage your progress with beliefs you never chose. Tesla broke free. He wiped the slate clean and rebuilt his mind in his own image. You can too, but it won't happen by accident. It'll happen the moment you stop tolerating the default and start demanding the deliberate. There's a reason why, 80 years after his death, Tesla's name is still alive, still echoing. It's not because he had a marketing team. It's because truth doesn't need a press release. His legacy is carved into the electrical heartbeat of the modern world. And that came from a mind forged in solitude, sharpened by discipline, and fueled by something higher than ambition. That's the invitation, to not just live a good life, but to build a life so aligned that time has no choice but to honor it. Tesla's life was not a sequence of random events. It was a demonstration of mental precision. Every decision he made, from where he lived to what he ate, was driven by his philosophy, that the mind is the true engine of innovation. He didn't guess his way through life. He engineered it. And you can too. But first, you must confront the mental viruses that keep you asleep. Every excuse, every hesitation, every self-imposed limit is code written by someone else. Your job, if you want to live like Tesla, is to erase it and write new lines of thought. Not easy ones, not popular ones, but truthful ones. You were not born to think small. You were programmed to think small. Tesla reprogrammed himself by asking one question constantly: what is the truth beneath the illusion? He didn't trust appearances. He dug into the principles. He questioned authority. He challenged mainstream science. And he refused to accept that what exists today is all that could ever be. That is the mark of the visionary. They see the current world not as a destination, but as a draft. Tesla looked at the status quo and said, "I can build better." And he did. You want that level of power? Then stop being polite with your mind. Be ruthless. Audit your thoughts like your life depends on it. Because it does. You don't just become brilliant. You chip away at mediocrity until only brilliance remains. Tesla wasn't born with the complete system. He built it, thought by thought, day by day, with obsessive intensity. He trained his brain to run simulations. He trained his intuition to override panic. He trained his body to obey the vision. And let's not ignore the pain that came with it. Tesla lived without wealth, without recognition, without love in the romantic sense. But he never wavered, because he understood that sacrifice is the entrance fee to higher dimensions of thought. People want greatness without the grief. Tesla endured both. That's why his legacy is sacred. He bled for it. He didn't chase comfort. He chased light. and every candle he lit still burns, invisibly, in the tech you use today. If Tesla were alive now, in this age of noise and short attention spans, he wouldn't waste a single second on what most people consume all day. He wouldn't scroll, he wouldn't gossip, he wouldn't complain, he would disappear, he would go deep, he would focus so hard that reality would bend to his will. Because when your mind is purified, reality has no choice but to follow it. He proved that. Tesla didn't fight the system, he became too powerful to need it. When J.P. Morgan cut his funding, Tesla didn't beg. He moved forward, even as his dreams of free energy were crushed by industrial greed. He knew something most men never learn. The most powerful currency in the world is a free, focused, reprogrammed mind. No one can tax it, no one can confiscate it, and no one can stop it once it's tuned into truth. So ask yourself, what are you tuning into? Distraction or direction? Addiction or alignment? Safety or truth? Tesla chose truth every time, even when it cost him everything. And that's what made him immortal. He didn't just make machines, he made a method for becoming more than the limitations of your culture. And that method can still be followed if you have the will to walk alone. Tesla's greatest invention wasn't alternating current. It wasn't the Tesla coil. It wasn't even the wireless transmission of power. It was the reprogrammed mind that made those things possible. The real miracle wasn't what he built, but how he thought. If you change your thoughts, you change your creations. If you change your creations, you change the world. Tesla was proof. And here's the tragedy. Most people die never even using 5% of what their mind can do. They die full of ideas they never expressed. They die programmed by systems that never served them. But not Tesla. He burned every drop of his mental fuel. He left nothing in reserve. He gave the world his frequency, even if the world wasn't ready for it. And now, 80 years later, we're just beginning to understand what he was really doing. He wasn't just inventing, he was transmitting. He wasn't just working, he was meditating in motion. His lab wasn't a workspace, it was a temple. And he entered that temple with reverence. You want Tesla-level results? Then enter your own mind with the same reverence. Stop treating your life like a rehearsal. It isn't. Every thought is a brushstroke. Every choice is an architecture. Every day is a design. You're either building a masterpiece or erecting a prison. Choose wisely. Tesla didn't believe in shortcuts. He believed in frequency. He believed that if you aligned your mind with truth, you would begin to see what others cannot. That's how he predicted the smartphone. That's how he foresaw satellites. That's how he described Wi-Fi before the word even existed. He wasn't psychic. He was present. Present to the flow of universal intelligence, most people are too distracted to feel. That's why solitude mattered. That's why silence mattered. That's why purity of thought mattered. Tesla wasn't running from the world. He was tuning into something deeper. And if you can sit still long enough, think clearly long enough, believe boldly long enough, you'll start receiving those same frequencies. Not his ideas, but your own. Pure, original, dangerous to the status quo and powerful enough to change it. You think the world is saturated with content now? Tesla would laugh. What we lack is not information, it's clarity, it's depth, it's integrity of thought. Tesla's mind was a cathedral of clarity. Yours can be too, but you've got to stop worshiping distraction. You've got to stop bowing to your impulses. You've got to stop seeking approval from people who are allergic to depth. The world doesn't need more opinions. It needs more vision. Tesla didn't offer opinions. He revealed possibilities. You want to live like him? Then become less concerned with what people think and more obsessed with what is true. Stop trying to impress and start trying to impact. Tesla never cared if he was understood. He cared that he was accurate. That's why his name lives. Tesla didn't network. He didn't collaborate. He didn't build a following. He built substance. He built knowledge. He built technology that stood the test of time. In an age of gimmicks and trends, Tesla remains untouchable. Why? Because principles never expire. They only compound. That's the difference between legacy and relevance. Tesla chose legacy. So now it's your turn. You've heard the story. You've seen the proof. The only question that remains is, will you begin to reprogram your mind, or will you die with someone else's software running your life? The world will forget your name if your thoughts are ordinary. It will erase your story if your actions are forgettable. It will bury you in the noise unless you rise with the signal. Nikola Tesla reprogrammed his mind to become a transmitter of pure innovation, of higher frequency. He did not entertain opinions. He pursued laws. He did not chase likes. He chased light. And if you truly want to honor what he stood for, don't just admire him. Don't just quote him. Become him, in your own way, in your own mission. You don't need a lab in Colorado. You don't need to invent a coil or build a tower. You just need to take full ownership of your mind. Start by cutting out the clutter, the opinions, the distractions, the impulses. Start by sitting in silence until your own voice becomes louder than the world. Reprogramming isn't about becoming like Tesla. It's about becoming the you that's been buried under years of noise, lies, fear, and doubt. It's about remembering who you were before they told you who to be. Tesla didn't wait for the world to give him permission. He gave himself authority. Authority to think differently. Authority to isolate. Authority to be misunderstood. Authority to outlast the ridicule. And that's what it takes, because the world doesn't reward the true thinkers right away. It punishes them first. Tesla was punished, but he stayed the course. And in doing so, he beat time itself. Don't aim to fit in. Aim to break through. You weren't born to repeat. You were born to receive. And if Tesla's story teaches you anything, let it be this. The most dangerous thing in the world is not a weapon. It's a free mind, a mind that cannot be programmed by trends, a mind that cannot be bought with comfort, a mind that is so focused, so precise, so aligned, that it can pull ideas from the ether and turn them into architecture. Tesla's entire existence was proof that energy follows intention. That thought creates form. That frequency determines fate. When you start thinking like that, you stop playing life on defense. You stop reacting. You start constructing. Your future is no longer a guess. It's a design. Tesla didn't predict the future. He built it, piece by piece, thought by thought, isolation by isolation. So can you. No more excuses. No more hiding behind the algorithm, the economy, your upbringing, or your anxiety. Those are not who you are. Those are just layers that must be burned off if you ever want to reach the core. Tesla did not become Tesla by protecting his comfort. He became Tesla by burning the false self to the ground until only the signal remained. The signal, truth. The signal, clarity. The signal, purpose. That is what you are here to transmit. Not just through invention, but through living, through thinking, through breathing with conviction. The world is not changed by talkers. It is changed by transmitters. Tesla was a transmitter, and the world, though it ignored him while he lived, now lives in the frequency he left behind. And now, it's your time. Time to retreat from the noise and step into your lab, your inner world. Time to reprogram your beliefs until they align with truth, not trend. Time to obsess, not over success, but over significance. Time to suffer, not pointlessly, but productively. Time to create, not for fame, but for contribution. Time to think, not passively, but deliberately. Because in the end, it's not about whether people remember your name. It's whether your frequency still echoes after you're gone. And the only way to create that kind of resonance is to do what Tesla did. Rewrite the code of your mind until it sings with purpose. Until your thoughts are electric. Until your life becomes a tower, pulsing with the charge of originality, intensity, and conviction. Tesla is gone, but his signal remains. And if you truly listen, if you train yourself to hear what the world has forgotten how to hear, you'll feel it, in the silence, in the focus, in the pulse of your own deepest calling. And once you do, there is no going back. You either become the transmitter, or you stay a receiver for the rest of your life. So what will you choose? The world doesn't need more noise. It needs more minds on fire. Reprogram yours and light the world.